All right, everybody. Welcome to Not for Sunday Mornings. My name is Steve, and I'm here today with.
Daniel Hazel.
And Chris Bachman. This is weird being the last one introduced.
Yeah, we're doing things a little differently because this Sunday you spoke,
I did, yeah.
and so I got to host today. So now that's all I did.
That's all you're going to do?
Yeah, I'm done. See you
Okay.
later.
I see you're drinking another energy drink?
Yeah, this one's Ecto Cooler or something. I don't know.
Does it taste like Ecto?
I don't know.
Try it. Oh, yeah, we heard that too.
That's good. Ugh, that's
Oh,
really good.
It sounds good.
They will not be a sponsor. That was rough.
So not Ecto Cooler.
I don't know what it is, but we're going to finish it.
Okay.
So.
All right, so I guess if you wanted to take the lead, but I'll take it instead. So
Well,
what
no.
did you find? What
You
did
know
you
how
like?
this works.
I've never sat on this side of the chair, so
You feel uncomfortable. You look
it's a little
uncomfortable.
I agree.
Maybe because you're wearing a shirt that doesn't fit.
This shirt fits. This was my interview shirts. This is a nice.
And you got the
little-
job?
And I got the job. maybe that's why it was like, oh, it's a good tight
I'm
fit.
fired up today. I got some stuff to talk about.
I'm sure
I'm
you do.
excited.
I'm
excited.
glad. All right, so what'd you like? So for just in case, because I know some people who don't attend here go
Yeah.
like, I am not a pastor. I am not a professional speaker. I'm a teacher by trade and moved up to administration in schools, and so I can speak in front of people, and so. Steve thought, oh, well, if he can, then might as well let him. So I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but and sometimes I think he questions it too.
I like how you're like qualifying this before
Yeah.
we even get started. You're
I
like,
know.
hey, just so you know.
All right, yeah.
Ah.
There's reasons. So, all right, go. Lay it on me. What'd you like? What'd you not like? Would you?
I can jump in.
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. I liked. I wrote down a couple of things, but something that I was writing down is what John is writing about is not necessarily new. I like how you pulled us into Daniel and showed it just showed the imagination and the apocalypse from the different angles of Revelation. And I liked how you ended too, the divided allegiance. It reminded me earlier in this year we went through the fruit of the Spirit, which before talked about the ways of the works of the flesh, the way of the flesh, and then the activity of the Spirit. If the Spirit is moving, it reminded me of that a little bit. And as I was processing through what you talked about, that divided allegiance, you can't have both. You have to choose. And Revelation is showing the values of God and laying out the way of God. So I like that. I appreciated that about your message.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good. I wonder if you're still talking because it was still going on. It was quite a long one, but that was okay, you know.
It was. I always find it hard to cut. Like,
Yeah, obviously.
I know. We know it's already a running joke. Like, and people in the church know it too.
No, one of my favorite parts was I listened to the audio version of the podcast, and so I love when we record an audio podcast and you use visual cues. That's always fun to listen to what we're supposed to see. That was cool. So no, that was good. No, honestly, I really enjoyed it. I thought the fact that you said the Antichrist isn't mentioned in Revelation was a neat, just a neat reminder that we also often tie Antichrist to Revelation and then be like, hey, that word's not in here, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah. So that was a difficult one to navigate because, like, when you do read commentaries and when you read what other authors have written about Revelation, they still use the word Antichrist. It's just a capital A Antichrist, and so it's like it's not there. We recognize it's not there, but it's such an intertwined idea that it's hard to separate from everything.
Yeah, I thought your Nero conversations were fun. We're gonna have a little bit of fun with that later, hopefully. But some of the backstory with Nero was neat. In fact, Alec, one of our high school students here at the church, he asked his mom why they weren't taught that in high school. Like a lot of they're taught about Hitler and what they did with the Jews, but they're not really taught about what Nero did to the Christians at all. And so that was kind of a neat insight for him as a student listening to learn all that stuff that he was unaware of, and And I love those historical moments where we can tie history into scripture, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
So,
give it reality, at a certain level.
that was cool. You did a good job.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Relax.
I know I
Come
do. I know.
on.
It is for again. We talked inside baseball. For inside baseball, it's a fun challenge for me to write a sermon. And I jab at you a little bit because I always feel like you give me the hardest topics. Like I think the first one this year was you gave me 3 lines or 3 words or something like that to work off of, and then or maybe that was last year. So it was like we did when we did the one verse.
Yeah.
Right. And I had like the first 3 words of the verse or something like
And
that.
that's hopefully that would help you to talk less. But that doesn't work. So I'm like, let's just give him 1 word. Maybe he'll only talk for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
No.
This year it was love. That was the one word you got at
Yeah.
the beginning of this
Was
year.
that? Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Went from 3 words to 1 word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it still didn't stop me.
Yeah.
So
No,
it didn't matter.
no.
So
But what I'm excited about is you mentioned during the week when you were preparing, like you're like, I can't wait to show Steve that how much I actually do cut out.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get to the podcast and I'm going to show him how much I actually do leave
yeah,
on.
it turned out like that was a lie. As I was finishing it up.
No, what's
No,
funny is
there's a lot.
Daniel told me, like, you would practice on Saturday,
Yeah.
and you were like, the first practice was 20 minutes, and then the second was 36.
My time was so bad.
And I'm like, how do you do 16 minutes in between the two? Like, what were you? How many Red Bulls were you drinking?
0. I was here all day Saturday, like trying to fix it, and I'm like, at 8 o'clock. I was like, I'm done. Like,
I'm out.
We'll figure it out tomorrow.
No, it was good. It was good. We're giving you a hard time.
no, I definitely deserve it, but
was good.
I enjoy doing it. So, cool.
Yeah,
Well,
very good.
yeah.
So now we get to ask you what was not for Sunday. What was
Yeah,
not?
sure. So we really this Sunday lived in Revelation 13, and it's a good chunk of text when you go through it. It's I've got it's 18 verses, but there's a lot in those 18 verses as you go through there. And so part of this Sunday, like I don't know, to give the background, like when I wrote it, it's like, well, if we don't understand these 2 characters that are in this passage, we can. My message was not supposed to be on the mark of the beast and the seal of God, but how do you understand that if you don't understand even where it's coming from, kind of thing? So I try to, as succinctly as possible, describe the beasts and give the reasoning why I thought they were who they were. Because honestly, we could have just come out and said, well, beast of the sea is Rome, beast of the land is this. And I don't know. I always like to provide evidence whenever that's there. So some of the things that I left out here. So I covered the first 3 verses, and then I jumped to 11. So there's a lot in between there, and a lot of it has to do with the description of and kind of going into what happens because of Rome. And so, like, verse 4 starts off with, like, they worship the dragon, right? So one of the things that we see come back in this was the idea of the dragon. And I know I hit on him because his name comes up multiple times. But what's kind of interesting, and some scholars, when they write about this, talk about this as a parody of the Trinity almost, right? This is the unholy Trinity. You have the beast of the land, beast of the sea, and then you have the dragon as there. And there's some things that pop up that when you look at it, it's like, oh, that's a parody on Christ. That's a parody on, so like the resurrection, right? It's a parody on the resurrection, and it's not complete because the idea that these creatures exist or these entities exist, they're not perfect as Christ is, right? Because they're going to end, and Christ and God and the Holy Spirit, they're going to continue for eternity. So there's this imperfection that goes there when we look at it. So there's the authority to act for 42 months in verse 5. There's the idea when you get to verse 11, which we did read. Then I saw another beast come out of this earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, but he sounded like a dragon. And one of the commentators I read said John made a mistake here and said instead of sounding like a dragon, it should have read sound like a serpent. Again, going back to the idea of Satan that we're looking at it, but the way that it is, but the idea that you have this lamb, right? So we have the Lamb of God, and then we have the lamb that's like the beast, and these two horns are even kind of a satire or parody of Christ at that, because it says horns like a lamb, but it could almost be like horns like a ram as well as, and so you have the harkening back to your ideas of early Israelite culture and the sheep and the ram and scapegoats and all that kind of stuff, and so there's some interesting like concepts and ideas that are kind of put in there. One of the ones I really wanted to put in, but I didn't, is the end of the Beast of the Sea. If anyone has ears, he should listen. So it's verse 9. If anyone is destined for captivity, into captivity he goes. If anyone is to be killed with the sword he will be killed. This demands the perseverance and the faith of the saints. So some of this kind of goes back to the idea of like, when you talk to your 144, right? So you have that multitude, right? So it goes back to the idea that John writes about what he hears, John writes about what he sees, right? And so he hears the 144,000, but he sees the army of the multitude. But what's the purpose of the army of the multitude? They're not there to fight, right? They're there to die. In all reality, like that's the whole purpose, is that they are the saints. They are the ones that are coming out of the tribulation. They're the white robe that we talked about when we went back to verse 7. But yeah, so there's this idea, and then it also harkens back, I think, a little bit to what Jesus writes, or what's written about Jesus when in the Garden of Gethsemane, and Peter pulls out the sword, right? And what's Christ say? He who lives by the sword dies by the sword. And so it's a similar concept that if anyone's to be killed with the sword he'll be killed, kind of situation. So I thought there was something really interesting in there. I know those are just kind of little things that triggered. And I know what, everybody, when we talk about the Mark of the Beast, that's what they want to hear about. And there's so much to actually say about the Mark of the Beast. But when I concluded on Sunday the idea that it doesn't matter, I want to make sure that we emphasize that. It doesn't really matter what the Mark of the Beast is, because it goes back to that idea of allegiance. Are you with God or are you against God, kind of situation. We can play with it, we can look at it, and we can talk about it, but the idea of what's really there, because there's some really far out there ideas.
Yeah, because I disagree with you.
Do you? Okay.
About it being Nero.
Well,
I think you're way off base.
I think Nero is an incomplete idea.
I think it's wrong.
Okay, that's fine.
But we'll get there, though. I want to know why you think the beast is Rome. Where did you come up with that from?
Why is it Rome?
Yeah, because that seems limited, too.
So, I think...
I'm surprising Chris with all this, too.
You are surprising. Why did I have that? So, why is it Rome? So, there's a couple ideas that the Beast of the Sea. So, the idea of the sea, first of all, and we hit on it last podcast, that it's this chaotic area, right?
Yeah.
And really, the Israelites did not care for it at all. Like, anytime you see sea written, it's not a good thing,
it's chaos,
typically,
yeah.
Right? But it could also, and some interpretations of it means like, and I struggled with this, and I didn't like this as an idea, but it is out there that, because the word that they use for sea in the Greek is the literal word for sea, thesalos, and so, but there are some people who are like, oh, well, the body of people, the group of people, and so the idea is that this is coming up out of a group of people, which would be a government of some sort in some way. I think the argument for the 7 heads and the 10 horns and the 10 diadems, so we're looking at rulers of some sort, right? Why Rome? So if you go to Daniel's vision possibly was not Rome. When whatever his 4th beast was, the argument for that is probably Macedonia in Daniel's time. That was going to be the one. But then you have this one that has, again, if we know that beasts are representing empires or kingdoms or however you want to refer to them, the likelihood that, again, John's talking to John's people. And so what do they know? They know Rome. And Rome, for me, it just made sense that this is Rome, because it all falls into place, I think, when you look at it and you say the beast is Rome. The beast of the sea is Rome, at least. So yeah, that I mean,
I was wondering if it's something bigger than Rome, like if we're limiting it to just Rome, where again John's telling a bigger story and a bigger narrative, and so
I think he is.
It's and plus and.
I
you know
think
what
plus
I mean,
and,
right?
I agree with that, because if you want to argue with me that it's not Nero, and I would say you're right, it's not Nero.
No, you can't stand up on a Sunday and say it's Nero, and here's 1,000 reasons why,
No.
and then you stand before me and say it's not Nero.
Here's my argument: is that it is Nero that he's referring to as when he's writing to the Jews, right? He's telling them like,
No, it's not.
you don't. So who do you think? No, I'm just curious. Then tell me who you think it
Oh.
is. No, I want to hear it because I want to have the discussion.
Okay. So okay. I got a couple reasons
No,
why. I got a couple reasons why I don't think it's Nero.
Okay, go.
So I wrote these down. So I want to get them right. Number one, no early church evidence ever suggested Nero as equaling 666. The first time that it's ever mentioned is in 1831 by a German scholar. And so if we do the rapture like we do the rapture, this is somewhat new.
Sure.
Again, not
Okay.
bad. Number two, why doesn't John call Nero or Caesar king? At this point, the first 12 chapters of Revelation wouldn't be odd. All of a sudden, John's like, he's given Nero or Caesar this title. And then number three, why would he give him this title in a cipher? Why not? Why wouldn't he just call him like Donkey Caesar or Donkey Nero? Why give it him a code? And then number four, and this is where I think, because the beast symbolizes something bigger than Rome, and so I think to then limit this number to one person, I think is a little bit limiting. And so I think it's a little simpler than we're making it, personally.
Okay.
We're wrong. So
Sure.
if we go to Revelation 13:17,
Okay.
it says, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. All right? And so unless he has the mark, which is what? The name of the beast.
Or the number of his name.
Right. And so, and then Revelation 15:2, we'll go ahead just a little bit. And it says, I saw what appeared to be a sea of glass mingled with fire, and also those who had conquered the beast and its image and the number of its name, standing beside the sea of glass with harps of God in their hands. And so I'm looking for, when it comes to the numbers, a name, right? And so the Greek word for beast is therio, which I'm sure you know that, right? And so if we transliterate that to Hebrew, which we would do, we broke that down and we put we do that how you did with the numbers and the words and you know how you did with the numbers for
Nero,
the letters.
Neron, and all
Right,
them. Yep.
so tau worth 400, and
Yep.
then tau 400, resh 200, yod 10, vav 6. That equals to 666,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
And so then again, the number of its name, beast, is 666.
Yep.
So okay. So hang with me for that. So beast
I'm
is,
with you.
beast
I've
is
read
beast,
this one.
right?
Okay.
So you know, okay. So then you go Revelation 14:1. It says, I looked, and behold, on Mount Zion stood the Lamb, and with him 144,000 who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. So the names are
Jesus.
Lamb, or Jesus and
Yep,
God, or
yep.
Lamb and God. So if we take Lamb and take the name of God and put that in the Hebrew and add all that up, we get 777.
Yep.
So whose name is that? Again, I think that's the beast on the name and the lamb of the name of the God, and we just make it that because when you live for God, we live for the beast. It's clear, like it's planted on your forehead, and I think that goes back to Deuteronomy 6. We talk about the Shema.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. So that was something I did leave out, was that the idea of the mark of the beast being on the left hand or being on the forehead is another parody on the Jewish tradition of they would wear these, I can't think what they're called, but they're prayer boxes or prayer satchels.
The phylactery boxes.
Yeah, phylacteries, yes.
Yep,
And,
yep.
And so and they would keep in there the Great Shema from Deuteronomy and a few Exodus verses and stuff like that in there. And so there is a parody there written in terms of that 666 being in those same areas.
Yeah. Which again, I think goes back to your overall arch, what you said at the beginning here, which doesn't really matter. It's more of like who's your allegiance to, right? Who are you?
100%.
Who are you allegiant to?
That was the hardest part because people want this 666 to mean something, and the only reason why I settled on Nero is because there are 1,000 answers to this question. Like, I think, I don't remember if I mentioned, like, Ronald Reagan was considered the Antichrist because whatever, I can't think of his middle name, but
Sure,
Ronald middle name,
yeah.
Reagan, all 6 letters long,
Sure.
right? 666. Like, if you, and you can do any numerical
But it says the
kung
beast
fu.
is his name. It says this is. I mean, he says it.
So my argument to counter you,
Yeah.
and this is where I settled on it, was because if you go into chapter 17, and so in chapter 17, there's verse 7. It's they're talking about what's the meaning of the woman and the meaning of the beast. All right, and so when you get to I don't want to read all of it, but essentially it's, I will tell you the secret meaning of the woman and the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns that carries her. The beast you saw was and is not and is about to come up from the abyss and go to destruction. So jump to 9. Here is the mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are the 7 mountains which the woman seated. There are 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is, the other is yet not to come. When he comes, he must remain for a little while. The beast that was and is not is himself an 8th king, yet he belongs to the 7th and is going to destruction. And so if you count, the 7th ruler was Nero,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the question then is, and again, for people who are at home, this is like just an intellectual argument and discussion, right?
Where Chris is wrong and he can't admit that he's wrong. So.
I'm willing to say that I'm not correct, but my question then is, why does John in chapter 17 put a reference that almost certainly is Nero, and even though he's not calling him by name, like there's enough in the cryptic wording that John uses throughout this book. It's pretty, I thought, pretty laid out. Now, I'm willing to say I'm 100% wrong in what I'm saying. Because I don't really care if it's Nero.
Yeah.
And the end story of it is this as well, that I believe 13 also looks at not just present time for John, but future time as well. And so when I mentioned, going back to you, that the devil doesn't know when his time's up, right?
Yeah.
So the devil's going to use whoever he can use. You want to call Hitler the Antichrist? Hitler was an Antichrist. He's not the Antichrist when we, again, use the capital A term, right? The Antichrist has never come, right? Will there be an Antichrist? Yeah, at some point, but we don't know when that's going to be, and neither does Satan. And so he's going to toss out whoever it can be, whenever it can be, and utilize whoever it is. So I think for John's time, I mean, Nero was so much worse than Domitian, and that was well known. And so just like we would go back, because I was trying to rack my brain, who in today's the 2000s could you consider the Antichrist?
Well, we don't want to.
We don't
make
want to
this a
do that.
Political,
Right.
Political podcast.
Well,
we could say probably
New
a couple
categories hosted.
We could say a couple.
But I mean,
couple
in
different
terms
names
of
right
like
now.
ultimate destruction and everything like that, right? And so, who's the last person we can really think about is Hitler, right? And well,
depends what website you're reading. I mean,
that's true. But I'm talking big picture. Like if everyone would agree that Hitler was, or Stalin. I could probably go as late as Stalin, you know. And so the idea is that there's always one coming up because Satan's willing to use whoever.
Yeah.
Right? And because Satan doesn't know when it's going to be, he never knows who the last one is.
Yeah.
So in the end, like, is it Nero? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But it also was Hitler. It was also Stalin. It was also Genghis Khan. It was also Pol Pot. It was also...
Again, though, it's about who's your allegiance to. That's where I want to get
No,
back
I
to,
agree.
like,
I agree.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's where it's more like who are you allegiance, and that mark is going to be so prominent that people are going to be able to see. It's not a physical mark. Like that's so silly.
Agreed.
It's like,
Yes.
Like if I could get a computer chip accidentally, that was the one thing I grew up with this fear that I would accidentally get this implant that I would then have the mark of the beast, and then I wouldn't know it, and then I would never get to go to heaven.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was taught that. Like
For
that was,
real,
and
yeah.
it was like, how foolish is that?
Well, right.
Is that how the way salvation works?
I
I
think-
accidentally don't get to go to heaven because I took some computer chip I didn't. No, that's garbage.
Because there's been I mean, and I'm going to say stupid and ridiculous ideas have been put out there, like credit cards, computer chips.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to move to modern day, Elon Musk's Neuralink.
Yeah.
You know, like all these have been tossed out there as ideas, and I agree with you. It is not a physical mark.
No, come on.
This is your allegiance. Where's your heart lie? Are you with God or are you with Satan? You know, and really that's what it boils down to in the end. I 100%. That's why I said in the end, it really doesn't matter what the mark is.
Yeah. The way you live. It's how it's stamped on your forehead. The way
Yep.
you live.
Yeah, and so that was a lot of stuff I cut out because that was where I thought I was going, like trying to explain that idea of the mark, but.
Yeah, I mean that was the title of the sermon: the mark of the beast and the mark of the things.
I
cut all
had
that
it
out
in there.
so-
No, we talked about it, but understanding like
I like
what
this
you're
role over
dealing
here.
with. Yeah, you do, don't you? Do you ever give up that role? No.
Oh.
No, it was hard because the idea that it doesn't matter what the mark is.
Yeah.
Like it's about the heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't know a way of expanding that idea out
Yeah.
greater than just saying it didn't matter.
Yeah. No. Yeah. You did good. You did good.
I don't know. You've been kind of quiet, Daniel.
Oh, yeah, I'm enjoying this. It's been great.
Do you agree? Oh, here, I'm gonna put you in between two people right now. Who do you agree with more? Me or Steve?
I'm
No.
right there in the middle. No, I see it's a validity in both. I think to the original audience, they're looking for hope. They're getting impressed that they were reading it in one way, but it's not to limit it to just that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Nero died and he's not resurrected and he's not coming back, but like these words are still true today.
They are.
Like you said, there were so many different things that the number could mean. I read something about how Solomon in Kings, his salary was 666. Like maybe to the original audience, they saw that number as a good man who could be corrupted, right? Because Solomon started
I
out
like
as a
that.
good person, doing good things, and quickly fell away from the way of God. So there's just so many complexities to that, and I think that falls apart pretty quickly as you pull on
Oh,
it. But,
100%.
there's just there's just so many ways that you can read it, and which is very telling. In the look around, Google some websites, and you'll find plenty of different meanings. Right?
Oh yeah.
Well, and that was one of my hardest things to get over too. Was like it almost aligned itself with numerology, and they have like a name for it, like the way the Israelites would do it. Like they had this whole weird number counting system, and I'm like, I just don't understand. It fell into an idea that I always have seen as not a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, why would they do that? Like, and obviously the Israelites were not always perfect in terms of their ideas and thoughts, and but yeah, it was just it was a weird one, but it was like I can't remember the author, but the book was like The Final Prophecy or something like that, and so a lot of people cited him as like he kind of was the idea behind Nero, and he wrote in the 90s, but he was pulling out of other stuff that he was getting to. The other thing too, like there was. You mentioned the perfect 777-666. So the idea that one of the other ideas I thought was fun was that 666. Number one, 6 is a imperfect number, right? So it falls short of that perfect number. So you have that, and then the idea that it's repeated 3 times, and so you have the imperfect repeated 3 times, which when things get repeated 3 times in a row, that's considered to be complete. And so 666 is the imperfect, completely imperfect, versus 777, which is considered the number of God, essentially. You have the perfect number of 7, and then it's repeated 3 times, so it's completely perfect. Which was, I thought that was an interesting thought. I don't know how much validity there is in that as an idea. And the reason why 6, because it says mark of man, right?
Yeah.
the idea is that man was created on the sixth day, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
God rested on the seventh.
Yeah.
And so that's your difference in your 6 and your 7.
Yeah. You know, what's kind of fun is coming up next week, and we're not getting there yet, but next week I'm going to talk about new heaven and new earth. And there was people wanted to change Jesus' name to 888. This is not a joke, honestly. Please, not a joke. I know, I'm setting you up for like a joke.
Looking at you across
No,
the way,
it's not
I
a
thought it was
joke.
you were telling me a joke. Okay,
No, it's
go.
not,
go,
because
go.
like creation, because it was new creation. So
Oh.
it was 7 plus
Okay,
1.
okay, yeah.
Because when did Christ rise? It was new creation. So 7.
Get it.
So they were, honestly, it was like 888. It was like the new, here we go. It's a new creation. And because it's new. And so it's a brand new start. And so there's a big push for that early in the movement to do that. And so, yeah. it didn't
That's
take
interesting.
off.
I've
No,
never
really,
heard that
honestly,
before.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
I am. That's
Yeah. I'm not going to talk about it on Sunday, but I talked about it now.
Or
It
you can
wasn't
talk about
for
it next
Sunday.
one. Yeah.
No, I did it now.
Teaser? Fine, whatever. Okay. I like that. That was a good idea.
No, dumb idea. But it's cool. I thought that was cool. So.
It is, yes. I
What
agree.
else?
It's
What else
cool.
was not for Sunday?
What else was not for Sunday? Yeah.
That's all I got, so.
That's really, I'm kind of at an end because again, I'll go back. Well, how about this?
I thought the parody thing was kind of fun to play with because he says something about what the two little horns. That was one was like sounds like a lamb but sounds like a snake.
Yeah. The who was a Barclay that said it probably should have been written instead of a dragon.
Well, I don't care
Yeah.
about that. But I'm more like it reminded me of like looks like a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Oh,
And I thought of
yep.
like sometimes you got people that come to church for years and years and years and years and like you look like that and you should like a
yeah.
little bit like of a again not kind of where John was going but more as a pastor as I read that like
No, I agree. Yeah, and there's a lot to be read into. There's the idea that all those who lived on earth will worship him, everyone whose name was not written from the foundation of the world in the book of life of the Lamb who was slaughtered. That's a verse I struggle with a little bit, but that's because I feel it's a verse that confuses me a little bit, and so I didn't want to talk too much about it in that regard. So I kind of left that one out. I know some people have one interpretation of it. I know some people have other interpretations of it. But the other thing, going back to the sealed, because we didn't really spend a lot of time. We just kind of hit on it, and part of that is I didn't want to rehash a lot of what Daniel had to say. But again, it goes back to allegiance, right? Where are you at? But I really loved the beauty of probably my favorite line is chapter 7, verse 17. For the Lamb who is at the center of the throne will shepherd them. He will guide them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eye. And to me, that's just, I don't know what's so powerful about that last part of the line about God will wipe away every tear from their eye, but that one gets me every time. That's a hard line to say, and because it just means so much. But yeah.
And on that note,
Well,
I guess we'll wrap it up.
yeah. So
I do have some. So if you have questions, you can send them to podcast@lincolnway.org.
did we get that fixed?
I
by the way?
fixed it.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Relax,
So let
dude.
everyone know it's fixed.
Sorry, I have to do everything for this thing. Set everything up, and post everything, edit everything, and
We'll have a
fix the
conversation
link.
about that afterwards.
Yeah, we will. Yeah. Let's keep doing the podcast. Steve, do all the work. Okay.
I have some ideas.
Yeah, you got some ideas. Keep your ideas to yourself. You can send your questions if you want, or don't. I don't care. We did.
I
Have
do. We want to hear from you, and
Chris
we
wants to
really
hear from you.
appreciate everything that you guys say. And
Yeah, all 5 of you. Here we go. We do have a couple of responses.
Oh,
yeah.
yay.
Vicky said, "I really enjoyed the podcast. I hope it continues after this series. I also enjoyed the dragon and agree with Chris about enjoying Steve's storytelling." Thank you,
Hey,
Vicky.
there you go.
I was wondering about the lights second service too. And Kim said, "As soon as I was notified, because we did the push notification last week,
yeah.
I stopped my audiobook and switched over. Love the podcast. Still confused about numbers. and gave us a smiley face, which I thought was funny because Kim runs all the numbers of the church. So the fact that she's
that's-
confused about numbers is a little concerning for me. So.
I thought she was reading the book of Numbers, and so I was a little confused in that one. I'm like, well, we're in Revelations.
Yeah, that's not good. So, and today we talked about a bunch of numbers that I'm confused about. So that's
Yeah.
good. So yeah, it's fun. So,
No,
it's been a lot of fun. So
Yeah, and I know we're ending, but just remember, a lot of this is take it with a grain of salt, right? Like I'm not.
take it with a grain of salt. We've been working our tails off for 2 months. Take it with a grain of
No,
salt.
But I just like
None of it matters.
no.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
What's the third promise? Right, we're gonna walk
with humility.
right?
We do.
and so
Second promise, but
Yeah.
was that the second one? What's the
Yeah.
third one?
let context guide the path.
See, he didn't even know what the third
No.
one
I
was,
thought the
and
second one- the
and
second
he
one was
wrote them, and
context.
he wrote
Go
them.
slow, walk with humility, and let context guide the path.
Oh, is that the order?
I copied it from your manuscript.
Okay,
so
that
I
must be
hope
the
it
order
was.
then.
Okay, well, if Steve didn't know what it was, he knew what
Those
I was
are the
talking
three,
about.
though.
Those are the three.
Those are the three.
But yeah, just remember, we're walking with humility here, and so
We are.
you may not agree with everything we say, but we appreciate you listening.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. This coming up this Sunday.
Yep. Next Sunday, what do you got?
New heaven. We're gonna talk about heaven. What does heaven?
I'm
look
excited about that. So can I ask a probing question before?
like? You can probe all you want. Probe away.
Are you using Randy Alcorn for any of your resource?
I don't know who Randy Alcorn
Okay,
is. Is that a
all right.
singer?
No, he wrote a book on.
Is he a
heaven.
rapper?
No, he wrote a book on heaven.
Was it 5 Minutes in
Called,
Heaven?
no, it's called Heaven.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Okay, I was
Is
just
it good?
curious. It was interesting.
Yeah, was that about the kid that
No,
went
no,
to
no,
heaven
no,
when he
that-
died or something?
No,
and came back.
What's that one called?
Oh, we had.
Did you read
5
that one?
Minutes in Heaven?
Oh, you
believe
did?
I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I never did. I think
3
my mom
Minutes
did.
in Heaven?
I've seen this book, Randy
Alcorn. Yeah.
Have I read it?
I have it.
Or is it good?
I enjoyed it. I thought it had some good stuff in there.
You got to learn to talk in a microphone all day long. It's been like, I'm over here.
Sorry, this is awkward. Usually the mic's over here for me, and then I got to look over here at Daniel, and so it's
Oh,
like,
this is the world's
don't
I
have to
know,
look
this
at
is
me.
the worst.
That's
No,
your-
I want to, actually.
No, I don't know who that is. So.
Okay, no, I was just curious if you were using him, because I'll just know where to pull all my stuff from.
This Sunday, I might sing.
You do that a lot, though. That's not anything new.
I'm trying to become
my,
a singer.
My question is, are you going to tell a story about you in the bathroom?
I
Because that
haven't-
used to be your trope, was like you
haven't-
would tell
a
bathroom
trope?
stories. Yeah.
I don't know what that word means.
You used to use that quite often.
I haven't told a bathroom story in a very long
I
time.
know. I miss them.
I've run out
My
of them.
favorite one's the blind person.
No,
one.
you can only pull that one out once.
No, I think
I
you
did it
told
twice.
twice. Yeah, I was going to say you told that one twice.
Never again.
That's okay. For if you don't know, find Steve, corner him, and ask him about the blind person in the
Don't.
bathroom.
That's so inappropriate. Anyways.
All right.
Oh, gosh darn it. Okay. so
Anyways, all right. Well, we appreciate you, and we appreciate you.
next week will
listening
be
to
our
us.
last week.
We're not
We'll have a
gonna-
big party.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah. I
Next
didn't know if
week's-
there was the
No,
15th.
I thought we had 9.
I don't know if you were.
This was
the
7.
Lessons
Oh, we
learned.
do have one. Oh, we
Yeah.
do. Oh, man. You're right. We have one more.
Oh, don't sound so excited.
Oh, I forgot.
Thanks.
Next Sundays are in 2 Sundays.
Sundays.
2
Yeah.
Sundays, yeah.
Oh, so you're right. We
We
do the
got 2 more
podcast
weeks.
after. Oh,
Yeah.
we got 2 more weeks. Oh, we got 2
Wait,
more
wait,
weeks.
wait, hold on.
Yeah,
We've
we're
got
good.
2 more weeks of Revelation podcast.
Yeah, 2
Season
more weeks.
1. Okay.
Yeah. And 2 more weeks of Sundays.
And then hopefully we'll continue. Because
Chris is,
I don't want to sit here on a mic and talk to myself,
yeah,
but
well,
I will.
he might have to. Okay, we love you guys, and we're
Yep.
so grateful.
All right, we'll see you next time.
Hopefully.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.